Today we're doing a review of the GVM SD300 Pro light. Let's take a look inside. I just picked up this light. I'm excited to up my video lighting game a little bit. I've been working a lot with strobes and photography, but I haven't done a lot of video light in the past. So I have a basic light here, but the 300B Pro from GVM is definitely going to be a step up. Now I've done a bit of research, and the GVM is basically very similar to what Aperture offers. You might even notice from the carrying case, but it's a solid light in terms of quality at a very affordable price. Now when it comes to photography gear, there's cheap gear and there's inexpensive gear. I always want to get inexpensive gear. I never want to get cheap gear. Cheap gear falls apart, it breaks, it fails just when you need it most. But inexpensive gear performs similarly to what you would expect from a high quality piece of equipment for a lesser price. Now I think the GVM falls squarely in the inexpensive category, especially when you compare it to the very expensive lights from Aperture. So let's take a quick look inside, see what comes in the box, and then I'll get into the review. So inside this nice padded carrying case, you've got some cords, you've got the C-stand holder, some paperwork, the reflector, pretty basic Bowens mount, and underneath it all, you've got the light itself. So now that we've seen what's in the box, let's talk through some basic functions and the setup. So it comes with this power bank and probably a 20 foot cord on that side. You got like a 4 or 5 foot cord on this side. Allows you to strap it to a light stand or a C-stand. It comes with a little strap kit to hold this power bank, and that way you can easily set up your light and get rid of your cords. So now when it comes to the actual functionality here, you've got these two tilt controls to tilt the light up and down, and then it's pretty basic. You've got color temperature adjustment from 2700 to 6800 Kelvin, and then power from 0 to 100%. So at that 100% mark, you're going to be getting 300 watts of light. It's a 300 watt light. That's what you would expect. There's probably some variation comparing light to light. That's going to give you plenty of power, especially if you're shooting indoors. Now the user interface, I'll run through. I've locked both my cameras at 500 Kelvin so you can see how the color temperature changes as I adjust the light. But the menu on the back here is pretty basic. In this main kind of home menu, you've got, let's see, so you press the mode button, it gives you these 3 effects. So you can adjust the color temperature and the power output. So when you turn up the power, that obviously increases the brightness. Pretty refined control. You've got to spin this quite a few times to actually get the effect you're increasing or decreasing effect you're going for. And then as far as color temperature, you can adjust this other wheel, and you can go all the way from 6800, which is pretty white, I would say, and then you crank it down all the way down to 2700. You're talking like golden sunset light or candle light, and we'll put it back somewhere in the 5000 range since that's where our cameras are set. And let's talk through some of the other functions. So from the menu, if you hit the mode button, it'll take you back to this screen. You can also play with some of these effects. So if you press here, you've got all these different light sources and effects that quickly dial into a specific setting. I don't find these all that useful. I'm just going to dial in the power and color that I want and go from there. So let's go back to the menu. The effects could be kind of interesting depending on what type of video you're creating. So in the effects function, you've got all these different things you can dial into. You've got this color temperature loop where it's just going from one end of the color temperature to the other. Let's see if we press this again, we can rotate. Let's see, let's go back. It's got replicating a television, paparazzi, camera flash effect, explosion, all these kind of interesting, but probably not all that useful for the general creator. So if you hit the mode button, go back to basic control, that's where most people are going to find the most functionality. In terms of fan noise, that's something a lot of people want to know when they buy a light. So if you dive into the menu, you can go to fan settings, and there's 3 options. The smart will automatically dial in the fan power based on how much cooling is needed. The high setting turns the fan on, and I will select that. We'll see if my mic is picking that up. But it's got some noise. It's definitely not that quiet. This is going to be in a scenario where you're not needing to get good audio right close to the light. You can also select silent mode, which dials the fan speed down to be almost, you can't hear it. but it also cuts the light power and limits it to about half the power. So if you're shooting in a setting where the light power is not going to be anywhere above 50%, you can go to silent. Otherwise, the smart functionality is going to be probably the most flexible. If you want to make sure you're not getting any fan noise, definitely select the silent function. Another cool feature about this light is the ability to control it with the app. So when you download the GVM2 app, it allows you to connect to the interface and quickly adjust your white balance or your intensity right from my phone, which is an easy interface. I really appreciated that. So it's especially handy if you have this thing mounted up somewhere where it's going to be hard to reach and you decide you want to adjust your color temperature to match some other lighting scenario. You can quickly just grab the app and tweak that. You can also separately purchase a remote control for this light, which I have for my other light that I'm using here, which I really appreciate because you can sit down, turn it off, turn it on. It's really handy to not have to mess with anything up there. I just let that be and quickly use my remote to get set up. So that might be something I pick up in the future for this light, but for now, I'll just control it with the app and use the manual on-off switch. Overall, I would say the build quality on this light is quite good. It's got a nice aluminum anodized exterior. It's got some nice handles on it. It's got a Bowens mount up front in case you want to mount a softbox or any other diffuser. And the interface is relatively easy to figure out. I like the simplicity. It's not terribly heavy. It's not super compact. But for a 300 watt output light, I would say this is a solid option. And it's really friendly on the budget. At only $389, this is a pretty versatile and powerful light. I know I'm going to be keeping this thing in my kit, using it on commercial shoots where I need lighting indoors like interviews or other set lighting. I'm also going to be redesigning my studio, so I'm excited to see where this fits in my relatively small studio space here and have plenty of power for lighting any situation that I'm interested in. My name is Mark Bergering. I'm a photographer and filmmaker, and I do practical gear reviews from real-world experience here on YouTube. So I appreciate you being here, checking out my review of this light. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I will get back to you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.